Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we'll continue with part 3 of the body side of Lexus LF-30 concept car. So in the previous lesson, I spent some time putting the fillet, so I'm going to continue on with that. Right now, it's a little bit messy, but that's okay. I'm just trying to see if it works. I think it's highlighting pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill up some of the surfaces over here and try to see if this is going to be a good fit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create some curves over here. So let's do this. I'm just going to do this very roughly. I'm just trying to see if the highlight is going to work well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap a curve over here like this. And let's just go ahead and align this curve over here. It's going to be G2. And since this one goes down, I'm going to turn on blending extra series of 3, blend factor of 0, so that the subsequent curves also go down too. So I think that's good. And let's actually make sure tolerance is 2.01 and tessellator is accurate. Okay, and now let's go ahead and project over here like this. I'm just going to make a square over here. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here like that. Of course, it's got a lot of spans, so let's try to clean it up. Explicit control on. I'm going to say 5 and 5. 1 is going to be curvature, 3 is going to be curvature, and 4 is also going to curvature. Now, it probably isn't going to fit, but that's okay. I'm just trying to see the highlight. And actually, that's floating. That's not too bad. Now, if you actually, let me see if I can bring up the picture over here. Okay, so if you look at this image over here, let me just resize it so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so I think the highlights flowing not too bad, but as you can see, it's floating like this, whereas the one I have, I think it's looking pretty good. It's just that I think, yeah, it's flowing not too bad, but I think it probably needs to, because right now I see a little bit of flick as it goes up here. But if you look at the image, I think it's a little bit more constant flow. So I'll probably have to fix that a little bit. But overall, it's looking pretty good. So not too bad. Now, that said, however, I do need a fillet over here and fillet over here. So I'm going to try and see if that's going to work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put a draft surface over here. So let's go ahead and grab a draft. Yeah, I think everything's looking pretty good. However, I'm going to have chain select on like this. I'm just going to point it this way. Like that, just roughly. Of course, it's not going to be filled. There's going to be a hole. But right now, I'm just trying to see if this is going to give me a nice flow. Okay, so that's looking good. And let's go ahead and put a fillet over here. But before I do that though, if you look at the picture, I think it's probably a better idea to have this one because I think that is probably the largest fillet over here. So I'm going to put a large fillet over here and I'm going to put this one later. Now, when I do this, I'm not sure if I should make this straight or if this is going to be okay. So, well, I'll give it a little bit of a try and we'll see if that works. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a fillet between this set of surfaces and this one. So I'm going to say chord, it's going to be G2, and let's make it somewhat big. So maybe I'll start with 100. I'm just going to say default on both sides. I'm going to grab this surface over here. Oh, that's okay. So I do need to make this curvature. So I'm just going to make it curvature like this. Blending will be turned off. I'm not too worried about continue over here. That's for a little bit later when I actually do a little bit cleanup. Looks like it's at least tangent, which is actually perfect. So I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. And I think that's good enough. All right, so now what I'm going to do is grab surface filler again. I'm going to grab these and I'm going to just grab these surfaces over here. I'm just going to put a fillet over here like this. I think it probably needs to be a little bit bigger and I'll probably just do an edge align. Yeah, I think that works well. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. So I will say probably 200. And let's make sure that's edge align. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. It's not too bad. To be honest, I don't like how it's floating over here because I probably prefer to just cut this up. But highlight, direction goes, I think it's actually looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is, well, let's actually, you know what, before I do anything, let's just make sure that it's Bezier like this. Oh, that does create two surfaces. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm just going to turn Bezier off. I'll prefer to just keep it one piece. And let's go ahead and delete the construction history over here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to put a fillet over here and put a fillet over here. So let's do that. But before I do that though, I think it's probably a good idea to trim this off. So let's go ahead and do that. And it looks like my quality is not, drop precision needs to be increased. I think that's good. And let's take a look over here. So I'm just going to grab these two over here. I'm going to just project it from Y so that I can trim it. So basically it's just going to continue with the shape. I'm going to trim it over here. And I'm just going to do that. Of course, these were trimmed, so I'm just going to untrim it so that I can fill the space back in. I just need to fill it so that this can actually blend into this space over here. So I think that's looking pretty good. All right, now that's it. However, I do need to make sure that this is continuous right now because this is just a fillet. It's not. So what I'm going to do, let's do this. I'm going to make it a little bit simple. So I think right now, this is not going to be the final surface. This is just sort of a trial run. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to do a trim convert over here like that. I'm going to hide the fillet over here. Let's go ahead and hide it like that. And I'm just going to align this one like that. Now I do need to make sure that this is actually continuous. Okay, so it kept continuity, which is good. Now I'm not, like I said, I'm not too worried about continue over here. Maybe I'll just do a little bit blending. Okay, so I'm going to say blending on, maybe extra series of 1, blend factor 1, so that it's a little bit gradual as it goes towards this side. Okay, so I think that's good enough. Delete the construction history over here, and I'm just going to trim. Hopefully it doesn't freeze. Oh, there we go. So, it's probably due to the history of the fillet over here. So you know what? I think I'm just going to delete the construction history. I know it's a little bit messy, but well, I can clean that up later. But what's more critical is is the fillet over here. So now that's done, I think what I'm going to do is, well, let's take a look at some of the pictures and see. I would say this fillet is probably bigger. I think it might not be a bad idea to do that first before putting on the one on top. So let's do this. I'm just going to put a surface fillet over here and this one. Of course, this one does have to be a little bit smaller. Actually, let's see. I'm going to say default over here. Oh, direction is completely wrong. So let's grab this one, make sure it's going the right direction. Okay, so I did put this in, but I do think that it becomes quite larger as it goes towards this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a variable fillet. So variable fillet over here. And actually, you know what? Since this actually needs to go in, I'm going to delete that one. And I'm going to undo this one. Just going to extend it over here like that. Okay, and now let's do that again. Make sure the direction is good. Okay, that's good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a variable fillet. So it's going to become a little bit larger as it goes towards this side. Actually, you know what? I think that might be a little bit too big. So let's keep this at 100. Oh, direction is of course wrong. Let's turn this to 50. And that's not good. I don't know why the direction flipped. I might have accidentally pressed on the arrow. Okay, so it's going to be 100 over here. I'm going to say this is going to be 50. And I think that's not too bad. I'll probably prefer this to be a little bit bigger. So let's see if I can make it maybe not 100, but maybe 150. Okay, so it looks like it's maybe a little bit. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller so that I can give it a little bit more real estate as it goes towards this side. So let's see if this works. So now that I have this set up, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the same thing over here. I do need a fillet. So I'm just going to copy this one. I'm going to just move it over here. Just probably do a little bit of rotation like this. Just make sure that this is aligned. I'm just going to align it over here. And of course, blending on. Ah, that's pretty accurate. Not too bad. I'm just going to extend it over here. No, actually, you know what? I'm not going to extend it, but I'm going to turn merge off, and I'm going to make it linear. I'm just going to extend the curve like this because I believe there's a little bit of curvature here as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project over here like this, and I'm just going to project this curve over here like that. And now I think that's pretty good. Okay, so let's fill this up. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm probably going to start over here, and I'm going to do this a little bit later. I'm just going to do a freeform blend because this is a fillet that's sort of disappearing into the, well, basically it has to merge over here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these edges over here, this one over here, and this one over here, and this one over here. I'm going to say probably default. I'm going to say default over here as well. So side 1 is going to be curvature, side 2 is going to be position, like that. Now I do see a little bit of reversal over here. That's probably because it should actually be have a direction like flow direction like this. So let's change this from edge align or default to connect, and I'm going to say modify range. I'm just going to snap it over here like this, and that looks a little bit better. Now, of course, it's not curvature over here. I do need to take care of that. But for now, I'm just trying to see if the highlight works. That's more critical for me. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a square over here. So it's going to 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here. Now, of course, the structure is a little bit funny over here. So I'm probably going to do some adjustments. So, but let's take a look. Highlight's not too bad, other than a little bit dip. So I'll probably have to make some adjustments here, but overall it's not horrible. Now, CV structure is horrible. So I'll probably have to play around with it a little bit. But for now, I think it'll serve the purpose. So you see the highlight flowing pretty nicely from here to here. So I'm seeing a lot of good potential. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the construction history. Of course, everything has to be cleaned up eventually, but for now, I'm just trying, doing a little bit of test run. Okay, so that's good over there. I'm going to trim this one over here. I'll probably have to delete the construction history on this one too. Actually, you know what? Let's just delete the construction history on all of them because I don't want this to be messed up. So that's good. The only thing is, this probably has to be a curvature, but it's, well, actually, it's not that critical, at least for now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and trim this one over here. Now I probably need a surface over here, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to do just a quick draft. Of course, chain select, I'll have to turn that off over here, and let's make it something a little bit small. So what eventually it'll have to line up over here. There you see a little thickness. It's pretty thin, but it does need some thickness. So now let's go ahead and project this one. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to run a fillet from here to here, see if that works. If it works, then I'm probably ready to put something here. Now I just put a flat surface over here, but eventually it'll probably have to go a little bit this way instead of having a flat section. So let's go ahead and put a surface fillet. It's going to be, let's see, let's try with something a little bit smaller, variable. Yeah, it probably needs to be a variable fillet. So I'm just going to start with 50 and I'm just going to click on, oh, and I do, because I do need to actually have this cross over here. So I'm just going to make sure that it's at least a tangent. So let's go ahead and align this one over here like this. I'm going to say vector, normal. That's good enough. I just need to fill it to run through. So that's what I need. And let's go ahead and delete the construction history on this one as well. Okay, and let's run the fillet. So I'm just going to start with something a little bit small. Actually, you know what? Before I do anything, let's save. And let's grab these surfaces over here like this. Make sure you pick them in order. And up to this point is good. I don't really need to see, and I can always do that a little bit later. Okay, so size 50. I would prefer to be trimmed, but looks like it's not. And I think that's actually pretty good. Now, that's not, however, it's not creating the right, it's not creating the fillet all the way through. So if that's the case, I think I'm just going to use a tubular offset. I'm going to say chain select, and let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's good. And that's actually going to trim because it's a tubular offset. So now let's go ahead and intersect it to the other side over here and even here. Now I know the fillet size is a little bit small, but that's okay. I think it should be okay. If not, I can always make it bigger. But like I said, this is just a trial run. If everything looks, if the highlight looks good at this point, and I'll go ahead and do a little bit cleanup on all the surfaces. Okay, let's see. I'm going to turn merge back on. It's not going to be linear. I'm going to say extrapolate, and looks like it's reversing. All right, so that's okay. So let's go ahead and just duplicate this edge. Oh, that's why. You know what? For this one, let's just do this. I'm just going to do an insert. It just needs to be close. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just need a COS. All right, so let's trim over here. Trim this one. This one, this one, this one, this one. And this one over, these ones over there. And let's go ahead and do a freeform blend. Okay, it's going to be curvature on both sides. Actually, you know what? Let's make it simple. Chain select. Chain select. Oh, looks like it doesn't pick it. Well, isn't that unfortunate? But that's okay. I'm just going to put something there. Of course, that's creating a mess, but that's okay. Okay. Oh, that's why I did an insert. But for my purposes, that's totally fine. Looks like it won't even connect over here. Okay, I'm going to say default over here. Yep, that looks good. And let's do the last section over here. Default over here, and I'm going to say edge align. All right, so that's actually looking pretty good. Of course, the highlight over here it needs to be addressed, but just looking at the highlights over here, I'll probably have to make some adjustments here. I do see this is a little bit softer. That said, however, I think it really depends on where you look at it, because from the side view, I do see a break, and I think this is actually pretty close. I would say the fillet over here probably needs to be a little bit bigger as it goes towards the rear, because right now I have it super tight. But I think the overall, all the ingredients are essentially there. So now it's just a matter of doing some refinements and just putting the fillets on there. So I think that's actually looking pretty good. Yeah. And of course, there needs to be a fillet down here too. So if I were to just put something small, maybe, well, start with 50. and it just needs to continue on over here. I would say it probably needs to be a lot bigger because I think it becomes a little bit bigger as it goes towards the outboard side. So I would say maybe double that to 100. Of course, I would have to do a white fillet over here, but yeah. Actually, this is probably a variable fillet too. So I'll probably do a variable fillet from 100 to maybe like 150. I think that should be a good coverage. Okay, so I'm just going to extend this with merge off. I'll have to fill this up, but that's, yeah. Bezier, let's just extend it. Well, it still looks like kind of crappy, but let me just trim it. Looks like normal doesn't work. But basically you get the idea. I think the highlight flow is pretty good. Of course, there are a couple of things that obviously I do have to address, like this, well, this messy fillet over here. But overall, I think, yeah, I think the only thing that I probably need to address is this highlight flicking up. But overall, I think I got the basic elements in. So it's just a matter of executing it a little bit better so that the highlight flow is, well, everything is, surfaces are cleaner. And I think that should be it. All right, so I'll probably start the cleanup in the next lesson. All right, so that is it for part 3. We will continue with this in part 4, and see you next time. Want to learn more? Then become a member at 3ddesignacademy.com, where you will find hundreds of video tutorials ranging from basics, including car creations, intermediate level tutorials such as this wheel, all the way to Class A modeling of the interior car exterior. Interested? Visit 3ddesignacademy.com.